Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carlo Cruz MMA. Today, my guest is getting ready, fighting UFC Perth this weekend, Australia. He is Jono. He is Mr. Jonathan Mcalief, taking on Oban Elliott. Jonathan, what's up, my friend? How are you?
Hey, brother. Yeah, really good, man. Just enjoying the fight week vibes at the moment. Yeah, doing well.
Absolutely, man. You get to fight this one in Perth, get to fight in Australia. Has this been on the bucket list for you?
100%, man. Anytime you can fight in Oz is always like, something that you look forward to, or something coming up that I always wanted to do. And here I am, man, it's awesome. I love it.
Absolutely, man. You've really shown throughout your time on the regional scene, your short time in the UFC here. You're a very well-rounded fighter. Obviously, your grappling, wrestling's on a whole new level. Last one, we really got to see the striking really let go, see that you have a lot of pop on the hands. For you, man, do you take a lot of pride in being a complete, well-rounded mixed martial artist?
100% I do, man. Because at this level and at this age, like of the young guys coming up, you're seeing people who are like not only like I guess dominant, but like really good in all levels of the game. So like for me to be able to show that, hey, I am one of these kids that also have that. I hold that in a really high regard for myself.
Absolutely. The life of a professional fighter, is like no other, man. That grind, making it to the UFC, battling it on the regional scene. A lot of guys have to have that 9-to-5 job. You're not making millions of dollars there. You wake up early, you stay up late, you miss birthdays, weddings, Thanksgivings, dinners. You sacrifice your whole life just maybe to get to the biggest platform you are today. Even here today, you're still sacrificing. You're doing this every single day. You're giving up everything to chase the dream. What's made you stick through it?
I think a love for the game, man. Like I honestly really love MMA. That's what got me started in this from the start, and it was that sacrifice and stuff that you have to do coming up through the amateurs that you get absolutely zero repayment for. You know what I mean? Like you're fighting for free, you're taking work off, so it's actually costing you. Plus, it's all the time and money and hours spent in the gym and all this, and then you get to the UFC and it's like, oh man, I'm here, but now I need to kick it up another gear. You know what I mean? Like now I need to do even more, but the rewards are there. So I think that gives you that extra push of like, man, I went through the really hard yards and got through it with no rewards or nothing coming back my way. Whereas now people starting to notice you, and you're starting to get a little bit of a reward for all the work you put in. So for me, it makes me want to put more work in. You're finding those extra gears.
Absolutely. I really feel like you really started making a name for yourself during Hex on the regional scene. You were fighting tough guys, man. You were fighting guys with really good winning records. I think a big fight for you, obviously, when you won the title against Luciano. For you, how big of a fight was that time of your career?
Yeah, man, that was huge. That for me was like usually you take calculated, smart steps up the ranks, but that for me was like a few, and I think that it's paid off now and got me sort of like the attention and the respect that I thought I deserved, but I didn't actually deserve at that point in time because I hadn't really been around for that long, and I was still just like a young kid coming up on the scene.
Absolutely. We really got to see you on the mainstream scale, at least in the U.S. When you fought Muhammad Adu, Dana White Contender Series last year. Where were you at, man, when you got the phone call that you're going to be fighting on the Contender?
Man, that's a funny one. I was actually I was on site. I was working. I was laboring for a concreter doing construction, moving metal that day. So moving Rio bar, 12 mil bars. I don't know how much that is in inches for you guys, but and then I got a call and missed it. And when I did get around to calling back, it was like, hey man, you got the call. You're gonna fight in the Contender Series. And I just had to take a moment because I was like, hold on a minute. And I just stood there, and then I had the foreman calling out saying, "Jono, get those bars over here." And my coach in the background was laughing, saying, you didn't have to worry about that anymore. And little did I know, I had to prepare for a Contender Series and still have to work, because it's you got to put food on the table at the end of the day. But it was that was a really cool moment, one that will always stick with me.
Absolutely. There's other guys in the UFC who also have that blue-collar background. Merab Devashvili, he used to do that construction-type work. Malcolm Weldmaker was a welder for a while. Now, obviously, one of the top upcoming 135ers. Having that background in the lifestyle job like that, did that kind of help with that transition to MMA? You see some similarities there?
Yeah, you see it all the time. I think that like it's multiple things. Well, for starters, just someone that can work hard and has that work ethic. You know what I mean? Like if you're out there doing hard stuff for 8 hours plus a day, 8 to 12 hours, depending on how long you're working, and you're just trudging through. And then when you do get to MMA, it's like, okay, I train maybe 4 to 5 hours, so it's half the time, but you're doing it hard. So you're really pushing yourself, and I think it's the mentality of hard work, and maybe it's shorter, but I can really push for it. And then again, I think that there's a special kind of person that can work for those 8 to 12 hours hard. You know, you're always lifting heavy things, and your hands get denser, and you get stronger, and there may be something to it there that that makes it for a stronger and definitely a mentally hard person.
Do you think that fighting is more mental than is physical?
I actually like to think of it as like a triangle. You know, if you got a skill tree, if you got your triangle, you got at the top, or I don't think anyone holds a higher value than the other, but one of them is your physical, like how physically strong are you, and then on the other there's your mental, and that's just as important, I think. And then your skill is the third. So you got those three sort of like foundations as to how good you are, and then they can change and bend over your career, but overall, if you were to really simplify it, I think that's what it is.
Absolutely. When you look at mixed martial arts in Australia now, I mean, it's really come a long way. I mean, there's some great fighters coming out. You see a lot of you Aussies now making a lot of noise. Obviously, Robert Whittaker back in the day doing great things for that area. Volkanovski doing great things for that area. Jack Della now, again, his grapes getting big title opportunities, being the champion. Talk about that evolution in that sport from you growing up watching it.
Well, in the Australian scene, do you mean? Well, yeah. Well, I think that back when I started, it was sort of starting to become this way, but there was no real path to the UFC. It was sort of like the few guys that had done it, but when you speak of them, it was like, oh yeah, but there's always an excuse as to why. But for us now, and for more later on in my career, as I started coming up, there's a clear path. If you get to X amount of fights and take this guy out in the regional scene, then you might get looked at to go on Contender Series, and then from there you can step up, and then that path's quite clear. And I think that's what's starting to happen throughout the entire Aussie scene. So there's a lot of guys now that are like, oh man, I can really make a life out of this, and it's not just like a dream that won't be made. There's like steps that I can take and goals that I can put in place in front of myself that will get me to where I want to be. And I think that right there is what's helping some of the guys that maybe otherwise wouldn't have even tried make it, And and I think there's a lot of very high level coaches throughout Australia, and some of them still haven't really been seen yet. And we're starting to slowly see the athletes and the coaches all across the board come through.
Absolutely. Through the years, some big cards in Australia, some really good fights. Do you remember maybe either being at one of the shows, watching it on TV, and thinking to yourself, one day I'm going to be in that arena, I'm going to be down there doing it?
Yeah, not early on. I think that I started, like for me personally, starting off was just something that I really liked to do. I really, really enjoyed it, learning, and then something that you can apply to everyday life. They say like if you know the way of the sword broadly, you can apply it to all things. And I found that with MMA and jiu-jitsu, and it sort of helped me overall to become a better, more wholesome person. And then from there, it sort of grew, and slowly but surely it became what it is now for it. And so it wasn't until later on that I started, but definitely after training with other UFC fighters, it was like I was around really high level guys when I wasn't quite at that level yet. Jake Matthews and Jimmy Crute are probably the two that I was around the most when I was still at that amateur level. And then seeing them prepare for fights and seeing them go out and put on spectacular performances was like, oh man, I saw how he went from what he did in the training room to what he did out on stage. These are just people, and then from there, step by step, you slowly get to that, the big mega events and whatnot. But man, it's so cool.
Absolutely. So you're taking on Oban Elliott this weekend. Overall, what do you think of him as an opponent here?
Yeah, Oban, he's a very well-rounded opponent. He's good, man. I've got to give it to him. He's got KOs, he's got submissions, so he can do it all. Dangerous everywhere. I think that it's not going to be a walk in the park for me. It's going to be a very tough fight. Definitely the most difficult fight of my career so far. Got to dot my T's and cross my I's and make sure I do all this stuff that we have been preparing. And come fight night, man, I just got to go in there, give it my all, and get my hand raised.
As a fan looking at this one stylistically, I really like it. I think there's a lot of fireworks that can happen here. I think, maybe someone can get knocked out. I feel like it could be a 3-round dogfight as well. Looking at this one on paper, do you think a performance bonus of some kind is a possibility?
Absolutely, man. I actually think this is probably one of the fight of the night or performance of the night contenders up there on the card there. But that being said, it is a pretty stacked card. There are a lot of good ones, but yeah, man, especially like how I've been preparing and as I'm developing as an athlete, it's definitely it's going to be a fucking cracker of a fight, or I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my thing, and there's not going to be much he can do to me. But we'll see which Oban Elliott comes out in the night, or in the morning, I should say.
Absolutely. Your first time out against you fought over in Australia. You get to do it again. First time you came out there, man, crowd going crazy. Big applause for you. You feed off that energy?
Yeah, man, I love it, and it's really cool, but it's sort of all I've ever known. I've fought out in Vegas once for Contender Series, and it was at the Apex. Is a very sort of like a skeleton crowd, so you can't really feel it. And outside of that, I've always fought pretty much in Melbourne, my hometown. So like I've never really been the B-side coming over to another country. But when I do get in there and I'm making that walk down the tunnel, man, I am so locked in. I'm a horse with the blinders on. I'm thinking about things that I need to do, and although it is cool and you feel the energy, I'm more or less quite a linear focus on the task at hand, what I've got to do to win, and all that stuff's sort of much cooler once the fight's over, and then I can really soak it in. But up until then, I'm pretty much like tunnel visioned in.
With a big win over Elliott, a big name like that, you really feel like that kind of maybe puts you close to that top 15, really catapults you in that division?
Yeah, well, look, man, I'm not going to say that I need to get a ranked opponent after that, because I agree with people that think that I don't. I've got to do a lot more work before then. I'm still so young as well, and I've got a lot more experience to gain. So it's like, why learn on the job when you can probably earn your spot a little bit more? And I want to make sure that when I do get there, there's no question that I am deserving of a ranked opponent. So maybe 2 more, and then a ranked opponent. 1 more ranked opponent. If I get one straight away, man, I'll love it. But I think that I've got to do some more work and show a little bit more of what I'm capable of. There's not really that much out on there with what I can do opposed to what I actually can do, So, yeah, but I would love to. That would be awesome if I could get a ranked opponent after this one.
For you, what's the ultimate goal? What do you accomplish with this sport?
First and foremost, man, I want to be a world champion. You know what I mean? Like I think that I have what it takes to do that. And that's obviously the ultimate goal for everyone. But outside of that, I think it's just to be able to fight for a living and put food on the table and let my family and stuff have things that I sort of missed out on a little bit more when I was younger, and give them that comfort. And, like everyone, you want that financial freedom. You want all those things, but yeah.
Absolutely. That really sets up my next question here. There's so many people are watching this sport in this day and age, UFC almost every single weekend, all these other promotions now. And I think for the most part, fans, they understand the basic concept of what you guys do. Obviously, they know you're training, you're trying to get fights, get bigger fights, get belts, all that stuff. But they don't see the fight outside of the fight. And to me, that is that fight to not have to clock in at 9 o'clock in the morning, clock out at 5 o'clock. That's that fight to secure financial freedom. That's that fight to build a platform, grow an audience, get your message out there, live life on your terms, not follow societal norms, live life your way. Has that been a big part of the journey for you?
100%. Especially like for me coming up, even when I was just fighting amateur, it was like family and stuff like, John, what are you doing? You're fighting. You know what I mean? This is crazy. And then it was sort of for me, it's like, guys, chase your dreams. Like if I said earlier, like I love this sport and that's what got me into it. And it's like, I'm doing what I love. It is hard in anything that you love, there's going to be parts of it that you don't really love as much. But overall, man, I'm living my dream. So like for anyone out there that sort of has a dream or has an idea and wants to make it happen, like just go for it, man. What's the worst that can happen? It's like, you let your insecurities and your sort of like yourself fail before you even giving it a red hot crack. It's just about really doing that. It's giving it a shot, which we don't see all too much, especially nowadays.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, there's so many people watching the sport now, and we've adopted a term. It's called the casual fan. And don't get me wrong, I think every fan is good for the sport, but sometimes maybe you're at the bar, you're at the fights, you might hear twist them and you watch them, you listen to some stuff, read some crazy comments. For you, man, when you hear this kind of stuff, do you laugh at it? How do you take it?
Yeah, it depends on the exact situation. If it's about me, I'm more likely to laugh about it, and I'm a little bit less defensive. But when I hear people tearing fighters down for doing this or that, I can understand and I can see from both sides as to maybe why this guy did that. But yeah, I mean, it makes it fun. It gives us something to talk about as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's a sport at the end of the day, and for the athletes, we hold it very close to our hearts, probably a lot more than you would for a ball sport game. But it is a sport at the end of the day, So I understand why most people, talk off cuff with certain things.
Absolutely. You're really making a name for yourself, man. You're a top prospect in the division now. Is it pretty cool when you look at your Twitter, you look at your Instagram, Facebook, you have younger fighters from Australia, younger fighters from all over the world hitting you up, asking you for advice now, being like, I want to get to where you're at. Is it cool to be in that position?
Yeah, it is, man. It is really cool. But usually when I answer those people, like, I get it all the time from young kids coming up. Hey, man, what do I need to do? And I'm like, whoa, you need to work really hard and sacrifice everything for no return for years. And then you might potentially get some reward. And then most of the time they're like, that's not what I wanted to hear. Tell me your secret. It's like, mate, there is no secret. It is that, it's hard work. And it's awesome to be in a position to sort of try and inspire people. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. It's hard. It really is. And it takes sort of a special type of person. And but even so, it is so cool to be looked up at by young people. I would never have believed you if you were to say I was in this position when I was back in my teens.
Absolutely. Before I let you go here, I want to run through some big fights coming up. I'm going to get your predictions, see who thinks going to win. Next week in Vegas, huge card. You got Mcallef putting that belt on the line against Corey Sandhagen. Who wins that one? Man,
that's a really interesting one. Corey Sandhagen, he's like probably one of the best guys off his back that Merab's faced, Merab's been able to get people down, control them, and not let them do anything. I think Corey from there, he can go under the legs, and he's got a couple really nice, sneaky little things. So I think that if Merab doesn't do what he does to most and just dominate for all 5 rounds, maybe Corey can use those sort of submission threats to get back up and keep it on the feet and sort of drown him with his range and his awkward movements. I'm not giving you a concrete answer here, but I don't know. It's going to be a cracker of a fight. Let's just go Corey Sandhagen by decision.
There you go. That same night, main event, Mcallef putting the belt on the line. Alex Pereira trying to get it back. Who wins that one?
Yeah, I think Mcallef is going to take that one out, man. He's very, very good. Don't get me wrong, Pereira is a scary human being, but I think Mcallef is going to take out that one.
All right, last one. We're going to shift over to UFC New York in November. You got Islam Makhachev going up, taking on a fellow Aussie, taking on Jack Della Maddalena. What happens there?
Yeah, I think Jack Della, his scramble ability and ability to survive and not put himself in any threats from bottom is going to be enough. I think being a bigger guy, but not just a bigger guy, he's a mover, he's a toucher, and he also can sit down and crack. I think that Jack's going to take this one out.
Absolutely. Obviously, we just talked about some huge names in the sport. You've trained with some great names in the sport. When you see the big fights, does that pump you up? Do you get any motivation out of it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. That's where I want to be. So when I do see that and see people do all this stuff, it's like, man, I love it. It really does fuel the fire for me. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Jonathan, last question for you, my friend. In a perfect world, what is the outcome this weekend when you take on Oban Elliott at UFC Perth?
I've said it a few times, man. In a perfect world, I get a second round submission via Darce choke.
There you go. Hey, if we pull off this submission, is there any chance we maybe see a shoey as a celebration?
Ooh, maybe. Maybe I'll invent something new. Get like a thong, and I'll just like use it as a slide down. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how we go, my man. But there's potential for a thongy.
Thongy. All right, we created a new term here. All right, Jonathan, man. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I know you're busy with all the fight week stuff, but I really appreciate it, and I wish you nothing but the best, brother.
Thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. That's it for us tonight. I'm Carl Prusley. It's Mr. Jonathan Mcallef taking on Oban Elliott this weekend, UFC Perth. You don't want to miss this one, fight fans. Take care.